Welcome to another episode of So It's Not Just Me. Today we are bringing back Laura because everyone absolutely adored the episode last time and she was wonderful and I absolutely adore her. Um, and everyone knows, we've said last time, me and Laura have a few different things in common, and this is one of them that we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about reading for mental health, reading for just a good time, and how things like BookTok, Bookstagram, what she's taught me today, and BookTube have changed people's perspective on reading and blown up the book industry again, which I think is absolutely wonderful. So, with that, welcome back, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So happy to be back. Joanna and I
Yes.
have blossomed as a friendship. Our last podcast was actually our first real introduction other than texting. So
Yes.
super happy to be back with you. I know we have lots of topics that we have in common and things that we have plenty of content to go over. So
Yes.
let's jump in.
So I'm very, very excited. So, um, I'm not a huge reader. Well, I wasn't until this year. Books like previously that I've read have always been like true stories from where I'm from or autobiographies. And I always say I read autobiographies because I'm nosy. I want to know people's lives and I like to learn about people. So they're the kind of books that I've always been drawn to. But I am trying to, broaden my horizons a little bit. When I was younger, I read like the Twilight books and the True Blood series. I read those as well because I think I like vampires and werewolves and that kind of stuff. But what about you? What kind of set you on your reading journey?
So one thing I do want to say, you never have to classify yourself as I'm not much of a reader. If you've read a book, you're a reader. You may not be an avid reader, but there's no one holding back. We're all very, very inclusive. You can read at your own pace. If you read one book a year, congrats. That's more than half the US population. If you read 30 books a year, that's amazing, so on and so forth. So for me, I really started young. I would say like second or third grade, it kind of took off. I was always kind of academically a little bit ahead, so I did start reading like more, getting away from like picture books and graphic novels and moving up to like things with stories. So
Right.
I have a really fond memory of like going to the library, picking out a book. I was really into like Goosebumps books or Choose Your Own Adventure books. I really liked those in that time. And then I would go up to my mom's room and I would go and lay right on her bed and I would lay in a certain way where like the AC was right there. It was nice and cool because I'm growing up in Florida. It's hot. And read like the whole book or just read for hours and hours and hours and just lose track of time. So that was really the start of it. Then I read a lot all throughout middle school, all the way up until high school. High school, we did a lot of reading for class. So read
Right.
this book and we'll go over it, or read 5 books during the summer. And then there's projects that are due like the first week of school. Not great, but I ended up not reading as much for fun. Then I picked it up a couple years out of college, picked it back up, like reading old series that I had read throughout, and then kind of blossoming from there.
Right, right. Do you know what? I forgot about the Goosebumps books until you just mentioned it because we had one. You press a button and its eyes like lit up and things, and turn to page XYZ to change the story. They were great. They were so cool. I
Those
remember as a kid
are
really loving those.
very near and dear. I read a lot of those. I actually want to write a book and use that format and do like an adult version of it.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
yeah, it's actually going to be about my D&D character, which kind of relates to our last episode. If you haven't watched that, you can go watch that on her YouTube channel. And then it's I want to incorporate like rolling a dice. So instead of you deciding which way, which you can too, you could also just let the dice decide. If
Oh,
you
that's
pass your
cool.
check, you go to X page and then take the story from there as if you failed. So again, you could choose that if you want to. You could choose the best option every time, or you could let a dice decide, and it's kind of a little spicy element to it.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Do you think your reading influences have changed, or like your reading habits because of the influence from the social medias?
Definitely, definitely. So I would say probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Honestly, yeah, probably pandemic time. you're inside a little bit more and you've got to find different hobbies, or you're not going out as much, or you're not doing this or not doing that as much. That definitely was a big resurgence, like a big blossom again for me to like pick up. I think I picked up like the House of Night series, which I previously read, and then I picked up the Hunger Games again, and then the new Hunger Games book came out, and then it kind of like you're reading new things after you've read something old, or if a story has been continued.
Right.
BookTok or any of the social medias like kind of opened my eyes to things I didn't know were necessarily there or popular, things that might be out of my normal range. For a long time, I pretty much just read anything YA, or I had like 4 or 5 authors that I would read almost all of their discography, or what is it called when it's a book? All of their stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as like online social media, there's a couple girls that like they're my tried and true. We like the same things. If they recommend something, I'm taking a screenshot. It's going on my TBR, my to be read list. Like I take that near and dear. I will plan to read that book at some point.
Yes. Yeah. I I've only just, like I say, last year I read half a book. The year before I probably didn't read anything at all. No, I tell a lie. The year before I did, my dad wrote a book, and I read that, and it's a wonderful book. I love
Yeah.
that book. I will go back and read it again, every year now. So I read that book last year. Like I say, half a book, if that. This year so far, I've read 8, and part of that is because of you.
Oh,
So
yay.
I
I love getting credit.
I have found that finding somebody who has either read the same books or is reading them at the same time is so good to be when you are reading, because you're bouncing off the excitement that that person had. You know what I mean?
100%. Way easier to like hype it up, or if you've got someone who's, even if they've already read it, if they're not reading it with you or reading it at the same time for the first time, just to be able to text to be like, oh my god, this just happened, and then the person who's read it has to be really really coy about like where it goes or what happens after that. Yeah, it
Yeah,
the bouncing back and forth, and then it makes me, when you talk about the books that I've already read and recommended to you, I'm like, oh, I have to go reread that. Like, or I
yeah.
just reread that recently, and I would, I think there was multiple times where I texted you where I was like, oh, get ready to not put the book down because you're about to get into something. Like, if you need to go to bed soon, stop now.
And I'm doing the same thing right now. So you recommended to read the Akatar books, which I have, and I could not put down. The last one was my favorite. However, I can't say any spoilers right now because I've done the same thing with my friend
Yeah.
and was like, "You need to read this book." And she's just finished the first book. She is currently very much a Tamlin girl.
Yep.
I don't want to tell her what happens next, and I don't want to tell her any spoilers. Um, but I am not a Tamlin girl. I am
It's part of the
whoever.
process. We all fall in love with Tamlin for a little bit. That is
So
something that
whoever
that
has,
writer,
she is good.
I was gonna say Sarah J. Maas makes you fall in love with every character along with the main character. That she is
Yes.
very good at that.
Yes. So when anyone gets to book 5, if they haven't read book 5 already, that's the book.
Buckle
That's the
up.
one where I chose who was mine forever.
She's like, I've made my claim.
Yes, this is my book boyfriend. Leave him alone. Stay away. He's
Yeah.
mine.
She's sending
Um,
me pictures and she's like, do you think this is what he could look like? Like the hair's spot on, like, which is again just such like a silly, like fun way to like love reading and be
yes.
engaged. And
Yeah. It's just so much fun and it's just so enjoyable. And now, Kyle is very much a fantasy kind of guy. He loved all the Lord of the Rings books, and he's currently reading the Brendan
Wheel of
Sanderson
Time?
books.
Oh, okay.
So he's listening to Wheel of Time for
That's what
like
it
the
was.
6th time through, or maybe like 10. I don't know. He listens to it every year. Um, but I've never really been into fantasy books until now, and this whole romantasy things that are going on, it seems to be a huge craze. So is that something that
Absolutely.
you've noticed as well?
Yes, and I'm very, very, very happy about, because like you, I was also like a vampire, werewolfy, like mystical beings kind of person. So I just really like that we still have these same similar plots. Like there's things that are happening, and then you add that little something on top. It really
Yeah.
kind of just makes it pop and makes it like really just an easy read. Like a lot of the times if I have to sit there and like struggle through a book, like my brother will tell me, he's like, just stop reading it. And me, I'm too stubborn. I don't DNF books very often, which means do not finish. Like you just put it down and forget about it. I think I've done it a handful of times in my entire life. I will struggle through a book, but this genre, I find that most of them are really easy reads. It's themes and things that we know and love, the fairy genre, the vampires, there's magic, there's storytelling, there's power to be had. There's people to relate to, people to fall in love with, people to hate. Like it just gives you everything truly.
What I find as well with it is that it has the story behind it and it has real people, but you know it's not something that is real life. So it helps being able to get lost in a book because you know it isn't real life and it's like watching a Disney movie or whatever, you know. That's I think that helps, especially when, you know, if it's a bit more of like the book I'm reading right now, I'm not going to go into too many details, but it's like a mafia themed book. So if it's a mafia themed book, obviously
It's
that
based
is
in real
real life.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whereas when it's the fantasy romance ones, it's definitely not. And I was a Beauty and the Beast girly growing up. You know,
Yeah.
that's where I fell in love with Beauty and the Beast. So I think that helps as well with the kind of books that I'm reading now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just makes it a lighter read. It, like I said, has the purpose, it has a story to tell, it has the drive. Because when I think of like romance books on their own, and I think of kind of older, I guess, like when we were growing up, like what our moms may have been reading, like the story, the plot, is there a plot or is this just spice? Like, there's that's what I like about the romance. See, it's really like nailed in that in between where like it's the best of both worlds.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't mind. I'll sit and read anything now. I'll give anything a try. Which is why I joined a book club. I never saw myself as a book club girly, but I have joined a book club with one of my friends who lives up this way. I've not been yet because I missed the first meeting. I only joined like a day before. But
Yeah.
the book they recommended is not a fantasy book. It is just a nice, cute book. So we're going to give that a go. And it should have actually been delivered today. It should be in my locker so I can go and pick that up
Oh,
when we're finished. I can't even
yeah.
tell you the title. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to find it. But it's definitely it's nice to get recommendations as well from other people.
Oh, absolutely.
And
And then you bring the community into it, and then it's this whole other factor. Like we were saying before with a friend on friend, it can almost be better in a group. I started in a book club and then it kind of fizzled out, just, people having a hard time scheduling and whatnot. But,
yeah,
you read a thriller book, you guys get to sit and talk about it or figure out what did you think? Where did you think it was going? What happened? Or were there any clues? It's like doing a book report, but fun as an adult with friends.
yes, yeah, I like that. And a lot of the times I was finding as well, it's books, not necessarily with me in this book club, but in general with the whole social media aspect of book recommendations. The books that a lot of people wouldn't even think about picking up and things that aren't on your radar because you so I only read I don't know
Yeah.
uh,
This
I only
author
read
or this
this thing.
genre or
Yeah.
this specific thing.
So it's nice to have everyone's eyes open to different things and different stories, different ways of writing,
Yes.
which I
I
really like.
I think that's good too because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you
Yeah.
might like. There's so many things that I picked up from social media or friend recommendation or even like the bookstore. They have like highlight on this book and it'll like give a
Yes.
little blurb or like they'll kind of push it or librarians picks. I'm a big about going to the library, supporting a local library, even if it's digitally. You can do it on your Kindle or your iPad. You can download and still rent books from there, still support local. Love that too. So,
Yeah, I'm all about supporting local. Um, do you prefer physical books or ebooks? or audiobook?
I
I know that you're an audiobook girly.
I like audiobooks for very specific instances. I like it for when I'm doing dishes, when I'm driving, or very select chores. I have a hard time because I go a mile a minute in my head. So I
Mhm.
will get way off track, and then all of a sudden I have to rewind or have to like figure out where I was or how much I missed or how much I wasn't paying attention to. So I like to read. I have an iPad mini. It's the perfect size. It's right here. I've got Laura's iPad.
Oh, that's cute.
It's the perfect size. It goes into bed with me. It's backlit. I can do other things. I like this over traditional Kindle because if I want to Google something or I need to know a word or a topic or something, I can go do that. Or I can go from playing my game to reading. I do love physical books as well. That is in most of my life. That is what I've read is physical. But digital has been kind of easy because I can take that with me a lot easier than a book. I kind of get nervous about taking books like outside or throwing them in my car or trying to throw them in a backpack because I want them to stay perfect. I
Yes.
want them to be in like prime condition. So I get a little nervous about that and I read too often. If I get a break at work and I've some got a 45 minutes to sit and do nothing, I'd rather pull a book out than scroll on my phone.
Right. I found during COVID, I did a lot of walking. I was back in England. I lived near the woods, so I used to go walking in the woods, and I'd just throw on an audiobook and go for a walk. And one of the ones that now this does not align or not align. This is nothing to do with politics. Before I go any further, I listened to Barack Obama's audio book, and it was his autobiography, and he was just going through his life and what it was like in the White House and for his kids and stuff like that. And it was interesting to see that perspective. It was nothing about politics, so it's not
Yeah.
as if I read it for my political views or anything. I was just interested in something. Um, but that book kept me out walking longer
Yes.
because I didn't want to stop listening because it was so interesting, and it was like, okay, I've just listened to two chapters and that turned to three to four to oh, I'll just finish the book.
Yeah.
And that was so good to be out and about and just I was on my own, just me and the puppy. So I was just walking around listening to that, and it was great. And I did that with a few different books, but that one really stood out because it was really, really long. Um
Yeah, so you were
but
able to like really get through it, like break it up into chunks. I do love to walk and read. I find that recently I've had more walking buddies, so that's harder to like read. But 2 years ago, I was walking every day listening to a book. It'll also influence because I prefer to find like go through the library or the Libby app or Hoopla or whatever. Sometimes they only have the audiobook available, whereas I prefer to physically read just because I find that I can get through it quicker. Audiobook usually takes longer. I don't like to speed it up too much because it gets kind of lost and jarbly to me. I
yeah,
know some people can do it on 3x and then tear through books, and I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't feel like I retain it nearly as much.
no, no.
The whole debate also on audiobook being reading or not, it's absolute garbage. If a blind person listened to a book, are you going to ask them, does that count as reading? Absolutely, it does. Like, don't even need to go there. So
I
there,
completely agree. And I did see something this week. Well, I was doing a little bit of research, and I've not been doing too much research because I've been busy reading. Um, but I saw someone who was having the argument of, is an audiobook classed as a book when you do your reading challenge? And people were saying yes, without doubt it is, simply because when you are reading a page, especially if you are an avid reader, you won't read every single word on that line because that's how our brain works. You're going to skip words, not on purpose, but you know how that sentence goes. So you're going to skip words. Whereas if you're an audiobook listener and you're listening to a book, you can't skip a word. So you are going to take it in better because it's every single word is going through your mind. And that's something I hadn't thought about
yeah,
until they said it. And it's like, yeah, that makes all the sense in the world.
sometimes I'll get in where I'm like, it's hard. Sometimes I'm really locked in and I'm reading and I don't think of anything in the outside world. Sometimes I get a little too distracted, but I'm trying to like get into that groove. Sometimes I'm in this in between where I do fill in a lot of the words, and sometimes it's okay. Like, if you're just, I mean, do I need to read every single word to say that I read the whole book? No. If it's a pretty basic sentence and not much is going on and they're just describing moving through this castle and some of the scenery, if I had missed that the flowers are white or blue, I don't care. Like, it doesn't make an impact unless it does, then it'll come back for a different reason.
Right. Going back to well, it's not even that far back. Going to the is an audiobook class in the reading challenge. Do you have any reading challenges?
Oh, yeah. For sure. I really like them. I did one this January, and I actually read 10 books in the whole month. I'm pretty
Wow.
competitive. So I like the bragging rights and I like the like, oh yeah, our team won. I think that one was page based. So if you were reading a physical book, you would just count the pages. Would go to the last page and you that page number is what you would mark. If you're reading an audiobook, you would go to the Kindle version of it, and then if you're reading a Kindle, obviously you're going by the Kindle version. And they
Right.
even let you read like graphic like mangas and stuff. You just did half the
Okay.
pages. You just so, cuz it's art as well. So you would just do absolutely half of it. So, I don't do them super frequently cuz I am really competitive. If I do it, I want to be able to like focus on it. Personally, January and March, or sorry, February and March were extremely busy for me personally. I'm finally like getting things winded back down to getting back into routine. I read a lot less when I've got family in town and things are going on and trips planned and so on and so forth. So January has been the bulk of my reading so far this year.
I set myself a challenge to read 12 books. And I
And you're
said to
already
someone,
at 8.
I know, and I'm like, do I have to up this now or just say that's it, challenge done, yay, go me.
You don't
So,
have to do anything. You can read over
right.
12 and then be like, wow, I did way better than I expected. That happened to me
Yeah.
last year.
Well, I think I've bought enough to do about 30 books,
Ooh.
because I'm now addicted to reading and can't stop, which I'm not complaining about. I'm really enjoying it. And some of the books I've picked up. So one of the books that I'm really, really enjoying at the minute, it's an autobiography. It's also like a self-help book. And it's one of these books where you can pick up and you don't have to read it in order because it's not a story. So if you look over the chapter list and you think that one is what I'm drawn to, you just jump to that chapter and read that. Or whatever way you want to do it. I'm not. I am reading it from start to finish because I
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
close a chapter and start the next. But it's such an interesting book, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So things like that, and it's also good because I can read a chapter of that, put it down, and then read whatever romance novel I'm reading at the same time,
Yeah.
because it's not like a broken story. Then I
Switch
struggle to read
gears.
two stories at the same time.
Yeah. So I try not to read with my eyes more than one book at a time. It happens sometimes, very seldom. I don't even like to break up series. Like if the series has
Right,
6 books and I'm on book 4, I seldom will stop to read something else. It does happen, but I find that I can physically read one and then I can also have an audiobook. So like when I have a longer drive for work purposes or something like that, I'll have that. So my audiobooks I typically get through much slower.
right. No,
Another
I,
thing
I
you said you like to like end a chapter and then you can kind of like pause there. I think this might be slightly psychopathic of me. I don't know. I prefer to stop in the middle of a chapter because so many chapters like end on like what's next? They make you want to turn the page. So I will literally just sit there and read until I fall asleep, or until I'm like, okay, I can't keep my eyes open. And then I'll just go back a paragraph or two and I read next. And
no,
chapters mean nothing to me.
you're a psychopath.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
did pre warn you with that.
No, I can't do that. Like, I think the only time I've stopped partway through a chapter was the end of A Court of Silver Flames. And that was because I was so tired and I was trying to finish it and I had 10 pages left and I just couldn't read anymore.
I remember that
Yeah.
because you texted me in the morning and I said, "Did you bring it to work?" And you were like, "No, I had an 8 a.m. meeting." And now nobody showed up for the 8 a.m. meeting. And I'm like, "Don't you wish you brought your book?"
I was like, "Yes, yes, I do."
You were so
But
brave. I would have been late to work. I have I have read a book. I start at 10, 11 o'clock at night because that's normally like if I'm winding down, I'll go and read. I started a new book one time and I kept reading until 7 a.m. I was
Oh,
like, I have to wake up at 9 for work. I'm putting this book down just so I can get a nap in. But I can't believe that. I read for 8 hours straight. It happens. Sometimes you just get a bug.
I can read for so long, and then my eyes ache that much that I'm like, "No, I need to stop." Um, but again, with the Akatar books, I was racing home from work just to get a little bit in before, because I at the time, even well now still as well, I finish an hour earlier than Kyle. So I'll get home, read for an hour before he gets home, and then do like dinner or whatever we're doing that evening, just so I can get that little bit extra in, and then again before bed.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
really
that.
consciously trying to not be on my phone before bed.
Yep.
So replacing that with reading has, and I know that when we started the podcast, it was kind of somewhat to be about mental health, and it has expanded to not necessarily being just about mental health now. But the impact that going from scrolling on TikTok or Facebook or whatever social media I'm looking at the time to consciously putting down my phone and reading, only picking up my phone to text whoever I'm talking about the book to, has had such a huge impact on me.
Oh
And,
yeah.
I'm sleeping better, I'm feeling better about things. I don't feel like I'm comparing to people. I'm just enjoying, and my head is so much better.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time if they're struggling with sleeping or they're struggling with their phone or so my friends tell me, "Oh, I wish I could read as much as you. I wish I could read more." I go, "Put your phone down 15 minutes earlier every night. Don't look at it." And then read. Read a chapter, read 10 pages. If you do 10 pages or 15 minutes every day before you go to sleep, it makes such a big impact. I took it a
Yeah,
step further and I even have my phone in my bathroom. It's connected. So I have to get up to put it away. Like when I brush my teeth, I plug my phone in and then I go lay down in bed and then I read. I don't have any social media on my iPad because I did mention that's how I prefer to read. I only have one game that'll distract me or Google. Like
right.
or Gmail. Like just not having it near me has made such a huge impact, and I try to tell people all the time if they can do that or if you can replace scrolling with reading. If you've got an extra 15 minutes before your next meeting or you've got this before your next job or whatever kind of thing, if you can replace that with reading, it makes such a big impact.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I found. There's a lot of things that I'm kind of consciously trying to do better for my mental health and things, and one of them, like, I set alarms for everything right now. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I have an alarm that goes off at 9 o'clock every night that says you have to have a shower right now. And it's not that I wouldn't have had a shower, but I would have waited till 11 o'clock before bed and had a
Yep.
shower, and then I'm awake. So, I have alarms for everything just to try and help. And the I have to say the biggest thing that has helped is the reading. So yeah,
You're going from looking at, potentially like news or articles or, tragic things that have happened or maybe sad things in your like people on your Facebook, someone passed or, things like that. And then you replace
yeah,
it with this story, this other world that you can kind of go
get
live
lost
in
in.
for a couple
Yeah,
hours or a couple minutes at a time. It
yeah.
it's just so much more pleasant.
Do you have any books that have like really impacted you emotionally?
So there's I find that like memoirs or certain autobiographies, which are not my
Yes.
typical beat, but like a really good one I want to give a shout out is Crying in H Mart. That one is really, really, really good. And then the one I'm more familiar with and I've actually listened to and read was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. That's a former Nick star, so she was a child actor, and she kind of tells you the story of how that came to be and how that wasn't really what she wanted, and
Right.
her speaking out against her time at Nickelodeon and things that may have happened, and her family dynamic, and how she's the sole earner for her family at some points, and the things she deals with and the eating disorders, and listening. That was a book I every so often I go and I'll try to find like recommendations that are better to listen as an audiobook than to read. I'll do that. So like the one I'm currently doing that with is Demon Copperhead.
Right.
That one was one of the ones that was recommended better. Jeanette McCurdy's book's on there. I'm glad my mom died. It's just so powerful because she reads it herself. So there's no misinterpreting like what the story is supposed to go like, or what it's supposed to sound like, or where the impact is. It's
Right.
from her soul.
Yeah.
So good. I recommend it to so many people, even if you never watched iCarly, which was her big show, or Sam or Cat, or anything like that. Like, she's still a person. She's had this experience. It's really profound and kind of opens the conversation of child actors. Because if you consume any media at all, I'm sure there's a child actor in some sort of show that you've watched or whatever. So,
Yeah.
big prevalent.
Mine's mine's one called you will never have heard of this. It's a very English book. It's called When You Walk Through a Storm. Um, and there was a big. It's based on the Hillsborough disaster, and you're googling it, aren't you?
Yes, I am. It's
So
going on my list.
there was a big accident in England. And it was a football soccer related accident. I hate saying that word. Um,
It's football.
it's football,
I
and
agree.
thank you, thank you. Um, it was a big disaster. There was too many fans there. They got into the stadium, and so many people died because they got crushed to death, and it
Wow.
was horrendous. And the book, the book makes me cry every time I read it. I can't read it without crying. Um, and it's the mum of somebody who died at the Hillsborough disaster, and that is a book that made me think more about being in crowds and being where I'm meant to be at the right time. And I think it also had, reading it in later life when I was having a few anxiety issues, it made me look more for safe places when I was at big events like concerts or football stadiums, or not so much the baseball because we don't get that many crowds, but um you
Not
know
the self-deprecating Ray's humor.
but things like that, or when we go to restaurants, seeing where a safe place is. And um but it's a really sad story, and it's how this mum fought for answers to what actually happened in her son's final hours. And it's I can't remember what I described as this the other day. It's not like a good book as such. It's interesting. It is good, but not happy. I can't remember what it was that I described like this. Maybe a film or a show, but it's interesting, especially from people from my generation in England. If they've not read it, it's definitely worth a read because everyone will know in England about the Hillsborough disaster.
Yeah,
Um,
I like you called me out. I immediately Googled it. It'll go on my list. Anything that someone close to me has said has had a profound impact or is a great story, like I want to look into it too. I want to be able to feel that, go through
yeah,
that with them.
and I think that the mum was still fighting for some sort of justice and was like an advocate for safety at sports. For the rest of her life, she died in the last few years. She passed away because she was just older. But it is just one of those books that stays with you forever. When you read it, you remember it all the time. Um, so that's one that really, really impacted me. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on to something more cheerful
Yeah.
than me
Well, that's
sat
the
here.
diversity, Sometimes you're crying and bawling your eyes out. Sometimes I literally laugh out loud. I'm like laughing, or oh my god, I have to tell somebody about this. Like,
Yes.
so many things that you go through, and that's life. That's what makes it so special.
Yeah. Um, Anyone who is watching, I do apologize. My blinds have gone funny, so I have lights down my face, and I've also got a really bad back right now. So if I look like I'm in funny positions and I keep moving, it's half the light, half my back. So I'm just gonna put that
Well, if we're
apology out
doing
there right
that,
now.
I'm getting over a cold and I sound nasally to myself. Joanna says I sound fine, but
You
if
sound
we're
fine.
apologizing, then I'll throw that in there too.
We'll just throw that in there, just so everyone's aware.
Yes.
Stupid lights, and I'm almost 40, so I've got bad back, as you do when you're almost 40. um, what are your thoughts on books that came like hugely popular overnight? Again, maybe the ACOTAR stuff can be classed as that, because they
It's
seem to
been
have like been
years
everywhere.
now. They have been hyped for years. So I would say maybe at first that they would be in that category, but now they're like, I don't know. I don't know if I like the word classics is right, but like for that genre, they are just that's the nail on the head. That's your ticket. Like that's right
Yeah,
there. So I do find that a lot of things get overhyped and then like a week later, a lot of people have already kind of moved on.
yeah,
I do like it from the author standpoint because sometimes that's their breakthrough, even if it is only for a week. That's getting their foot into the door. People who are like independently published or people who don't have these huge contracts or stuff like that. Like it can be life changing for them. So I do absolutely love it. Let's see. I'll save those and then like add them to my to be read list. But it really has to like pique my interest or has to be like a specific set of people who are recommending it for me to be like drop what I'm doing and read it. So like
yeah,
to be read is like a never ending list. There will always be books to read. People who like movies, there's always movies to watch. Like there's always shows to watch. There's always music to listen to. And that's such an amazing thing. So to be
yeah.
able to be like, oh, at some point I'll get to it.
I have a question that I didn't actually. So I know that I send you like a list of questions of these are things that I might bring up, and this isn't on the list, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Are you one of those people who go and watch a movie and are like, "Oh, the book was better," or can you see it
thousand
as separate
percent
things? Okay.
1000%. I am usually the biggest hater of books turned into movies. I am really picky. I am like, nope, they forgot this detail, or no, that's not what that character is supposed to look like, or no, that didn't actually happen, or oh my god, I can't believe you left out this detail. Like this is such like a foundational thing. Like I was just recently talking about that because The Uglies, there's a trilogy by Scott Westerfeld, very, very big favorite of mine that recently just became a movie, and
Oh,
so I had a couple people ask me about it because that I reread those books. That is like one of my comfort rereads. Reread them every 3 or 4 years or so, probably since I was 12.
right.
So I do turn into a bit of a hater. I will say sometimes they do it right, like a Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, The Hunger Games. Coriolanus Snow, year 12 of the Hunger Games. I think they did the movie really, really well. Like, so it can be done, but I am siding with the book 9,999 out of 10,000 times.
Right. Kyle's been like that right now. He's a huge Wheel of Time fan, and he's been watching the show and he's like, "That's not how it happened." And I can hear him in the other room because I've not watched any of it, so he watches it without me. And he'll be like, "What? What? When was that in the book?" And
It wasn't. I'm sorry, Kyle. It wasn't. I
yeah,
feel your pain.
yeah. And I think there's some things like so I never read the Harry Potter books, but I watched the Harry
Whoa.
Whoa. Whoa.
That's not allowed.
I'd never read the Harry Potter books.
That's not allowed because where are you from?
I know.
Um,
But I
I
never
didn't
read the
know
Harry
this.
Potter books.
This might put a bubble in our friendship. I think you might have to read those before all these other books you have planned. You can borrow my
Oh,
copy. I can give it to you. We can read them together. I can do digital. That'll be it's okay. We're all set. We're all set. I'll forgive you.
okay,
This is a
okay.
pending thing. But
Now
continue, I
you've
guess.
lost my train of thought now. Okay,
Well, you were
no,
talking
that's it,
about the
that's it.
movies.
Yes. So with like the Harry Potter movies, I think they're wonderful. I love the movies. I love how cute the first one is because I do think the first one's very cute, and I love how it grows in darkness with the age of the kids, which I'm guessing it does in the books. I don't know for certain, but I appreciate everything that happens in those films, and I love them and adore them because I don't know if my opinion would completely change of the movies if I read the books. You know what I
I
mean?
find that when people watch show, book, movie, or sorry, watch the movie or show first, that they don't have the same impact as flip-flopped
Okay.
because you're kind of just getting more info. Or you can say like, "Oh, that makes sense, like why they did it that way or whatever," or you can kind of see the changes. Um but I don't think I've ever watched a movie of something and then been like, "Oh, let me read the book." Usually I
Right.
will have been like, "Oh, there's a movie coming out. Let me read the book first if I haven't already, if it's something I'm interested in or it was on my list or whatever." So, I don't think it'll ruin the magic. Like quite literally. Like I think it'll only make it better.
Okay. Because I am a huge, like, massive Harry Potter fan. Like, huge Harry Potter fan of the movies. Of the movies. Now,
Yes,
I can
yes,
tell
yes.
you exactly why I didn't read the books. Because I did have the first book for a little while, and I was so busy with, and I know this isn't an excuse, but it is an excuse. I was so busy with like working and running a house. It was back in England, running a house, being a housewife, and working full time, and all the other things that come with that. I just didn't have time to do anything. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'd just go to sleep. So I never got round to picking it up. And then by the time I started reading properly again,
You're into these newer things. Harry
yeah,
Potter, I mean, this is 20 years ago plus that,
yeah,
this was
yeah.
really in its prime. So I understand. I do.
I'm
Um,
taking that as a forgiveness, as I understand
yes.
it is a forgiveness. I'm taking
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Absolutely. You can do no wrong. We
I
will
know,
always
I
be
know.
friends. We will always be friends.
You're stuck with me for life.
I think so.
No way out of it. Do you think that there's any pressure to read certain ways because of like the social media aspect of things?
I think a lot of people worry about, like I mentioned earlier, kind of like being competitive and wanting to read X amount of pages or X amount of books. I think people might rush through in some sense to like be like, get this champion belt. Oh, I read X amount of books this year. Like this was, this is a big feat. And it is. Congratulations. But I still want people to enjoy things, If
Yeah,
you read 5 books and that's how long it takes you to in a year and you really enjoyed those books and you got a lot out of it, do that. So, I think
yeah,
there's always going to be a competition. I'm in a group, like just kind of like books and besties or something like that. Like it's just a Facebook group. People can post. There's like polls and stuff. Like, oh, would you rather be in a cowboy romance or a hockey romance? And I'm like, that's a no-brainer. But
wait, which would your answer be? Because I think yours might be different to mine.
oh, you would definitely like cowboy because you like those
Yeah,
cowboy boots. You were telling me about all
yeah,
those cowboy boots you ordered, but I'm a lightning girly, so yeah, they're definitely hockey.
yeah. I'm not
So
a hockey girl yet.
I'll change that too. We'll have to we'll have to spend more time. Um, so I think there is a pressure to like consume, which this has been an overarching thing with social media in general. Just consume, 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 whether it's reels or like clothes, like physical things. So I like to challenge that sometimes. And then
Mhm.
even I will feel this pressure. Like last month, I was insanely busy and I only read 2 books. Like, who's putting that on me just besides me?
Yeah.
Just because I read 63 books last year doesn't mean that I need to read 63 books this year. Like,
Right, right.
that's a lot. My goal for last year was 35, and that felt really ambitious. And
Yeah.
I was so excited. Like, even when I hit 50, I'm like, do I get a cake to celebrate? Like, like I'm like, this is such like a cool thing. Like, I'm
It
so glad
is.
that I'm enjoying this much. It brings me joy. I can talk about it with people. I can make new friends. I can, kind of focus in this realm. It's inspiring me to want to write. Like, that's something I really enjoyed when I was in middle and high school. I used to write short stories. I used to write a lot of poetry, and that's something that I kind of lost. You don't use it, you
Yeah.
lose it. So
So, two things I'm going to tell you. I was just Googling really quick. Well, I was going on my Amazon wish list.
Yeah.
There's a book, I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Hypothetically Yours, and it's based on the Coastal Coconut baseball team.
Ooh, who wrote that one?
Angela Parkhurst.
I feel like I've seen that.
So it's based on like the Savannah bananas. So it's the
That's
Coastal
so
Coconuts.
funny.
Yeah,
That's
and
so funny.
it's a baseball romance, and I thought, you know what, Laura will like this. I need to tell her. I
Oh yeah.
forgot until just now
Send me that
when
link.
you
Send
said
me that
hockey
link.
girly.
It'll go on my
Yeah,
list.
so that's going to be ordered soon. I'm waiting until I've read a couple more before I order a
Yeah.
couple more because I might end up divorced if I keep ordering more books.
Listen,
Um,
that's a big thing. There's two different things, and people have realized this. Ordering and buying books versus actually reading books, those are two different hobbies. I personally I get gifted books. Like you mentioned Brandon Sanderson earlier, like he is on my list. So I was gifted this for Christmas because I do want
nice.
to read them. But this is not something I would buy for myself unless I have read the series and then been like, I really liked those, let me get like a set. Like that's kind of the
Yes.
buyer that I am. Like I have a special set of the Harry Potter. I have a special set of the Twilight books. I have like an entire completed series. Like that's my jam. I'm buying books
Yeah.
that I've already read for the most part.
I tell you what I did get, and that I really did. I've I've not finished it. This is clearly going to go on my DNF. Um, I bought the Bridgerton books
Yeah?
because I adore the Bridgerton show. I absolutely love it. And I think that the show has been made so well that when I'm reading the books, it's like, well, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. That's not what happened in the show. But so I really need to like take it apart and just be this is a book based on this. This is a show based on something completely different
Yeah.
and separate it because I'm
Shout
really
out to
struggling to
Shonda.
read it.
Shout out to Shonda Rhimes. She can make
Yeah.
a TV show. I love all of her shows. I actually haven't gotten into Bridgerton. I'm I like things to be done, books and shows.
Right.
I like there to be enough of it that I can feel satisfied. If something's only got one season or if it's currently coming out, it's like, "Oh, season 2, episode 1 releases this and then the next week I need like
I
3
think
or 4 seasons. If a book
well
is
this one
planning
has got three.
well, now, but I'm saying a couple
Yeah.
years ago when I had tried it, I was like, I don't know,
Okay.
there's not enough. Like when the big craze was out. So like books too, like I have a lot of books that are on my TBR, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to read this. This is up my alley. But the author says there's going to be 6, and they just released the second one. I'm like, I'm waiting. I'm waiting
Yep.
until there's more because I don't do well with like what's next, and then you forget, and
I have
it's
to
a
read
whole
it all
thing.
again and
Whole thing. Which I
yeah.
love. Rereading books almost like sometimes when I'm reading, I'm like, wow, I can't wait to reread this. Like to me, sometimes it can be better because you can go back and get those details you missed or like you really have this different lens of like you know what happens. So what subtle things or how did the writer maybe foreshadow this that you didn't catch the first time?
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Do you have a book that you recommend everyone should read? No matter what, they should read this book.
I should have grabbed it. I do. Austin, my boyfriend, got me a signed copy of this wet signature, so the author actually picked up this book. She was the author that I had claimed in middle school, wrote my favorite book, which was Elsewhere. Her name is Gabrielle Zevin. The book that I would recommend is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. It's a story about friendship and love and making video games. And it was going to be tied in the books that like emotionally impacted me because that is one where you laugh, that is one where you cry. Um I genuinely think it like changed my brain chemistry a little bit. That was really really powerful to me and I've been really trying to find a good time to reread it because the first time I read it, I just don't feel like I had enough time with it. Like I
Right.
probably would have liked to have like paused a little bit more, but it was one of my library reads. So like I mentioned, I got gifted a copy, so that's a big one.
Yeah, that's good. Again, send me the link for that one and I will get that ordered and put on the shelf and read eventually.
I like how
You
just
said
throughout this we've expanded our TBRs, like
yes. Yes. I
just
don't know if my
natural.
husband's going to be happy with this, but that's okay.
Tell him he can come to me.
He will. He'll be having words.
That's fine.
So before we started, you said that you just read one of the Colleen Hoover ones.
I
Which
did.
one?
So I read Verity and I read it for the podcast because that was one of the things I think we had talked about or like was mentioned in the questions when you had sent over like who's really popular or this or that. And I kind of felt bad because sometimes you just kind of what's the best way to put this? I don't want to be judgmental, but sometimes you just kind of know like that's not going to be my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And actually I do appreciate reading it because so I read Verity. I don't know if I already said that.
Hmm.
I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. Um I kind of appreciate why people like the book, but it also reinforced what I don't like from an author. Lots of kind of like loose plot holes or not the best writing. Just, I don't know, there's just kind of a lot like here and there, or you think something's going to get important and then it just never does.
Just fizzles
And
out.
then, yeah, and it's just kind of like, oh, really? That was the twist of this book? Like, a lot of people kind of hate on that book, and a lot of people love it. And I understand
Right.
why, because I read it very quickly. It's kind of a train wreck. Like, you just want to get through it, and you're just like, well, what the hell happens next? What, I mean, like, what's going on? Like, oh, certainly it can't get worse. Like, at some points, you're like,
Right.
it can't get worse. And then it's kind of the equivalent of like, they wake up and everything's a dream. Like, that's
Like
not
lots.
actually what happens, but it's just kind of that trope where it's like, it didn't feel substantial.
Right. Right. Yeah.
The plot
How did
felt
they
really
just?
rushed. Like, people who classify it as a romance, um, that's not a romance I ever want to be a part of. Like, I don't think that they love each other. I don't know. There's just so many things that I found wrong with it, but I can understand why people like it.
Is it is it Verity that they've just turned into a film as well?
Um, It Ends With
No.
Us has just been
No.
published. Verity, they've just started filming.
Right. And that's with
Yes.
Anne Hathaway, right?
Yes. So I may
And she
watch
can
it.
do no
I love
wrong, in my
her.
opinion.
I love her. So
Yeah.
I may watch it. It may be a hate watch. I never said I'm a perfect person. I like things that entertain me. So it did keep
Right.
me entertained. It kept me engaged. And yeah, you can always give it a try if you want. I don't know that I'll be reading more of Colleen Hoover though.
I don't think I will be. I've heard some good, some bad, same as you, but
Yeah.
um, it's just not on my radar. I mean, it was on my TBR list, and I took it off.
Yeah. I
So
don't know that I ever got added to mine. I did it specifically for this.
right,
Yeah.
no, that's fine. What was I gonna ask you? Oh no, this is what I was gonna mention. Like, I cannot believe how many new bookstores are opening up and popping up around us, and like the influence that people are having on these small stores that are now opening, that because people are buying more books, and I absolutely love it. And I wish this is a stupid thing to say, but I wish that Amazon wasn't so convenient,
Nope.
because
Not
I
stupid
would
at all. I
I
get
would
it
be at
because
those stores.
it's like there's this internal fight of convenience versus not, but I don't know if you know, but that's how Amazon started, was a bookstore. And what they did
Yes,
was just massively undercut everybody else in the market. And that's continued to be how they do things. And oh, one second. Okay. That's continued to have like how they do things, and they make it really hard to justify going elsewhere. But I like it. I like that things are getting popular from social media because there's this like things that might be more niche or more like
yeah,
specific of a genre or something like that. And it's much more common now to find books written from all kinds of folks about all kinds of folks. That's something
yes,
that's like really important to do with something really important to do with empathy is being able to see from other people's perspectives. So if a book does nothing more than just makes you think from somebody who's not yourself, that's a lot more powerful than a lot of people give credit to. Every
yeah,
time a character deals with adversity in a book, we can have another way to process and identify it. It kind of Also, there's authors who might not be able to hold a traditional kind of job due to accessibility or things like that, who can now have a source of income for them and their family. So
Yeah.
all of that combined are pluses. These
Yeah.
little boutique stores that have trinkets and books, or they curate things, love that.
Yes. So I'm going to tell you this, and then unless I've missed anything, I think we might start to wrap up. But one of the things that I'm going to do, and I don't know if this is going to be, this is the first time that I'm actually telling anyone out loud. It's been something that's I've been working on for a couple of months now. Um, I am turning all of our podcasts into a book
Oh,
because so it isn't just me. We do all these things and we talk about all these things that are so interesting to other people, and people pick up and read, or sorry, and listen to, or watch. And I thought it would be absolutely wonderful to put all these stories into a book, not
in the
like a
written
he said,
format.
she said, he said, she said all the way through it, but a this is our take on this subject, and these are the things we spoke about. And I will that's what I'm working on right now, so maybe we'll have to give each other
Co-write
ideas when we're watching
co-write a
these
couple
books.
co-write a
Yes,
couple
sure.
things.
So
I'll
it's
scratch your back, you can scratch mine, help me with my book, help me get
yes.
through.
So that's something that I'm working on now. It's not going to be a out anytime soon kind of
Oh
thing,
no.
and I don't
No
expect it to be.
expectations. This is
Mhm.
when you've got free time or something to
Yeah,
passively just kind of work towards. I love that. That's super, super sweet.
yeah. I'm trying to do as much as I can to help people and get the message out there, and to get people's stories out there more. And I just thought that would be a really nice outlet, because maybe you have watched one of my episodes, maybe you watched the one about gaming and didn't really get into any of the other ones, but because you haven't got that time to listen, but maybe you do want to just sit and read it, read about it, read someone else's perspective. And maybe you're just sick of hearing my voice, so you want to read it instead.
Never.
All those things.
Never, never, never. I love your voice. I love that you guys don't have tank tops. You call them vests and whatever else we get into. And I was telling somebody about that. They're like, what do they call it? I was like, I think she said waistcoat. No, your voice is
Yes,
perfect. Your voice is
yes,
perfect.
yeah.
So,
So, so anyone that doesn't know, I am getting Laura back again because this episode is specifically for World Book Day. We was going to do it anyway, but I wanted to get this out first. And this episode is also my first one that I'm going to be releasing since having my little break. So um, I wanted something a bit more cheerful than my usual episodes. But the next episode that we're going to get with Laura, we drove down from where she lives in Florida, down like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Do you think?
yeah, down to
Um,
Port Charlotte.
yeah, down to Port Charlotte, and we was talking about so many ideas that we have. So the next episode, we was going for the baseball, so that's the hint of what the next episode is going to be like. That Laura hopefully comes and talks to me
Just
about
a
as soon
little
as we get that
teaser.
scheduled. Yeah,
Just a
just sprinkle
little,
that in there, with
yep,
the
plant a
coastal
seed.
coconuts and the drive to Port Charlotte. So
Yes.
that's the theme of our next one. So did I miss anything? Is there anything you want to mention before I let you go?
Hmm. This is kind of funny. I think the only one that we didn't get to was do you ever use them as form of escape or stress relief?
Right.
So sometimes I feel like I'm in a funk and can't focus, and in those times I can move on and try later. Like I'm not going to sit and force myself to read if I'm just not into it. Listen to your body, listen to your mind. If it's not what's right, don't get upset. Just kind of move on. But I will use reading to cope with higher stress often because it's like, oh, work was really intense today and there was a lot going on and then this interaction might have happened. You know, to make me feel better about my problem, reading about a girl who just lost a family member where she's going into a maze with ghosts and devils and the chance to find her sisters or all the family she has left. It's like, yeah, no, I want to read about her problems for a minute, not worry
Yes.
about mine. So
No, I
I
I
thought
get
that
that.
was a
So
cute
I work
little.
with numbers. So I work in accounting. I've mentioned that quite a lot recently. I work in accounting and HR, and it's one of those um it's high stress. I'm just gonna say that it's high stress what we do. And being able to come home and get lost in somebody else, like you say, somebody else's problems. I don't have to do sums.
Yep.
I don't have to do multiplication. I can just listen to this girl ramble on.
Yep.
or this
About
guy
her.
wonder why she's not talking to him or
Yep. Like
whatever.
why her two love interests aren't talking to her, or how she needs to train to fight this dragon, or love
Yep.
it. Love it.
Same page. Literally.
Well, thank you for having me. I think that wraps us
Thank
up.
you for coming back. I was so excited to see you again. So, I haven't seen well, saw Laura obviously for the recording of the last one, and then we met up a few weeks back for spring training, and it's always nice. It's like I've not been apart. It's wonderful. So thank you so much. Anyone who's still listening slash watching, I'm sorry that I look like a ghost right now. The sun hasn't been out all day, and now it is, so I'm completely whitewashed. But hopefully that won't put you off too much. And until next time, thank you for listening.